And back here, day two, CMA Fest. Almost said CRS. No, we passed that point already, but CMA Fest here again. I know. The sportsguyspodcast.com, and of course, out here too as well. HighTideCountry.net and our friends at KKTC. True Country 99.9 again too as well. And she showed up here too as well, presented by our friends over at Bangtail Whiskey and of course the CadenGordonShow.com. Today's best country mix and our friends out there too. Day two coverage continuing inside the Music City Center all day here. The one, the only, grass on the grave, Allie Colleen. How's it going?
I'm so good. How are you?
It's good to see you always too. And it's just crazy week, right?
Yeah, everyone I've talked to today looks beat up. You know what I mean? Like, we're in it. We're in it. We're here.
We're here, no doubt. It's just like you want to go home after it's all over, but you know people are going to drag you out to the nightlife, right?
I didn't even take my makeup off last night. I said, we can touch this up in the morning. Well, it'll be way smarter than starting from scratch in the morning, for sure.
Well, let's talk about it. Grass on the Grave came out, I believe May 10th was the exact date, and I just remember that this morning. It's a good thing, too, as well. The drop date when you guys put it out, too. Special song, good, great meaning, lyrically, very good, too. Talk about just working on this project and how excited you were to get this one out to radio and to just your fans.
I love Grass on the Grave. We've been putting out songs recently that follow a very typical narrative that country music has kind of always supported, but hopefully in maybe a little different way. So there's not too many songs that I've ran into that supported me in the season of grief that like kind of gave that frustration push behind it, you know what I mean? And Grass in the Grave is very much that. It's very much like it just paints a room for you to be just as much healed and like moving on and getting better as it does really allows you to be frustrated about it, and to really be frustrated. I feel like sometimes, in seasons of grief, we're so quick to be grateful for what we have and right. And like move forward, all that stuff. And as important as all those things are too, I think something that's always helped me is someone giving me a space and making me feel comfortable enough to be frustrated about what I lost. And so Grass in the Grave, I think does that very well.
I know you recently did a collaboration with Lee Brice on a tune for 2023. Talk about this one too as well. I know the title's escaping me right now, but you'll know the title too when it comes down to it. But just a beautiful song. And just how did this collaboration come together?
So I have been writing with Miss Sarah Brice for years. She wrote a lot of the Stones album with me, which was my first album I ever put out. And so Miss Sarah is Lee's wife. And so I think one day we just said, I guess we can finally invite Lee can come. We'll let Lee come. But Lee has been producing a lot of my projects for the last year or so. So he produced a song called Halos and Horns and Feels Like with Jared Neiman. And so Lee and Jared produced this song for me called While We're Still Friends. And Lee sings on it. He produced it and he sings on it with me. And it's incredible because just like Grass in the Grave, While We're Still Friends creates a room for, honestly, for me personally, it's a song that came out of divorce, but obviously for anyone, it's any kind of relationship like that was lost. But it creates that space for two people to amicably agree on that. Like there's not too many divorce songs for me that don't just land on blame, and land on kind of hatred and land on a lot of spite. And While We're Still Friends, it's just like, hey, I love you and you love me, and like let's agree that like this is not what we vowed to be. Like this is not working. So Lee coming in on that vocally and adding that amicable character, I think was a huge turning point in that song. So very, very proud of that song. And Grass in the Grave kind of follows While We're Still Friends.
I got to ask you about this, just get your opinion, but I love seeing the 90s country swing kind of come back. I mean, you look at Randall King and Zach Top, what they're doing now, too, and Zach's just blown up since January, even part of late last year. Great to see that sound coming back, and I had one put on my table yesterday. I was like, vinyl records, you're making them more now? And so that's the cool thing about it, too, because I remember just going to the shows and doing all the radio stuff back in the 90s. How special is that to see, like, just the 90s sound start to come back with a few select artists that are doing that?
I think it's incredible to see those artists recognized for what they do. You know what I mean? Because it's like there's been so much shift in country over the last 10 years that a lot of artists, I keep seeing my friends, my personal friends, trying to find their space in this town. And just for me personally, I've just always waited on this town to have space for me, and it's like, and I think Zach Top is a huge advocate for someone who has waited on this town to have space for him. Zach Top came to this town as Zach Top, and he still is Zach Top. And I think that's incredible because I've seen a lot of my buddies switch over to the pop country thing and still crush it, still nail it. But at the end of the day, it's not what they're dying to perform. So for me, anything like that, any wave of new genre, old genre that's coming through, it's just really cool for me to get those artists showcase it who are born to sound like that and have always sounded like that. So I think that that's very cool to showcase those artists right now that are doing that.
Let's talk about just the movement now for women's country. We've talked about this before, but even now, man, I mean, every lady now has their day. And respectfully, you look at Lainey Wilson and the Opry tomorrow night, Reba inducting her. fantastic accomplishment there too. But just the ride she's been on, I remember talking to her on this very show in December 2020. I'm like, just give it a couple of years, and then bang, it just hit. And Entertainer of the Year, ACMs. I mean, just this movement now. Megan Maroney, they're all in it. You're right there too, and you're climbing the ladder. What does that mean to country music for females?
Yeah. It's so wild because obviously none of us females are impressed. We're like, damn right. Like, yeah, way to see it. Way to finally, good job, you guys. But we've talked about this before. We've talked about this in the sense of it's like, what's that piece of advice you would give new artists? And for me, it's always been, if you could do something else, don't. Like, if you have a plan B, you go do that plan B and you rock that plan B and you rock that life. And what I'm seeing right now is people who had no choice but to do this get rewarded for that. Like, Lainey has no choice but to do what she's doing. You know what I mean? Like, if Lainey wasn't Entertainer of the Year, she would still be being Lainey in a bar somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, Lainey is exactly who Lainey is. And I feel the same way about Ashley McBryde. I feel the same way about Priscilla and Taylor Dye and all of these women that are coming up, just being unapologetically what they are. And I'm again, even just to go back to Zach Top and the men in this town right now that are getting recognized, I don't think they have a choice. Zach Top would be Zach Top if he was still playing, back home, kind of thing. And so I think for me, it's not only the recognition of women, but it's also the recognition of true, like, artistry. Again, I feel like it's kind of coming around, and it's not so much like, here's something we make, shift, and molded. It's Lainey worked way harder than she should have to be recognized the way that she has been, but thank God she's being recognized. You know what I mean? Like, she really worked herself into what she is. And I think that that's what's paying off, is these artists worked themselves into what they were. They weren't molded or trained or anything. They're just unapologetically what they are.
Let's talk about, because I love it, tattoos. I'm going to say it right now to you. You have some of the best artwork there on the ink. She knows how to do it too. And, I've always been nervous to get a tattoo. I probably shouldn't be as nervous as I think I am, but I guess it's just, that too. But it's spooky. Yeah. But I will say this, you got some of the just best artwork out there. But the song has meaning behind it too. When you put that out, Tattoos, the song. And I love it too so much. Tell everybody, especially the listeners out there too, just what this one means to you, because that's just that personal meaning, and songs do that to everybody.
Yeah. I love tattoos. So I have a song called Tattoos that's out, and it's very poppy. It's sonically different than everything else that I do. I think it's also my only explicit release, which makes me feel like the coolest thing on the planet. But tattoos, it's funny because I really do care about this, even though it sounds silly, right? It's just flipping that role, right? So men sonically, right, have been catcalling for years, right? Like women have been on the meat block for years in men's song, and it's sometimes it's really cool and sometimes it's not. Like, Rock On, we love it. This is just flipping it. Like, this is putting you guys on that meat block, and it's just a song. Like, there are songs that have made me feel sexy and made me feel good, and I love tattoos, and like, I've wanted to look like this since I was little. Like, I remember seeing a tattooed woman when I was 9, and I said, what is that? I want to look like that. So all that to say, this is just a shout out to the tattoo community, but then also, like, I hope it makes you fellas feel sexy. I really do. Cause like, it's time, like, us women be catcalling these days hard. You know what I mean? So that's as goofy as it is. I care about it. And I love that song.
All right, I'll tell you this. I got back in the gym a little bit too, but I started mountain biking a little bit too. And I still enjoy it. Probably try to ride 5 to 7 miles a week, get that cardio in. But for you, back in it, man, you're hitting it hard. I'm telling you. I see them photos. She's like posing, she's flexing, all that kind of stuff too. I'm like, she's getting that tone, everything right there too. Just what's it like being in the gym, and just it's a release for a lot of people too, no doubt. And man, you just let off endorphins, let them go. Yeah. And for you, I know it's just got to be like a sanctuary.
It's absolutely incredible. I find myself there most nights, like 2 or 3 a.m., just kind of thing, like just really working on it, but also just putting in that work of discipline. You know what I mean? I think discipline is one of the largest ways that you can show up for yourself. You know what I mean? And it's incredible. And to get to show up and do that. Also, it just feels good. Like, being strong feels good. You know what I mean? And I think being strong feels sexy. And I think that being strong also sets me up to do everything that I need to do in my life, including my show, including my horses, including everything. Like, I just love it. And to get to kind of show up for my community of women on my social media who aren't afraid to go in there and see how much they can pick up and do that kind of thing. And then all the men who are encouraging us as well. Like, it's just a really cool community to be a part of that's outside of music for me. But I think a lot of it for me is just the discipline of showing up for myself.
No doubt too. How does the rest of the week kind of line up for you? I mean, tomorrow's just day 3, day 4. We survive it, get to this too as well. We got an Opry event we're doing on Sunday, but a lot of cool things for you specifically. What's lined up? What are you excited about the rest of the week?
Today is my busiest day. We get to perform at 2, and I get to perform with my band, which I am so I never really get to play with my band too often in this town. We really stay on the road. So to get to perform with them today is gonna be incredible. Tomorrow it's back to the Dance Monkey gigs, that I do. Tomorrow it's back to Scoreboard at the Lake from 1 to 4, cover sets. Come see me, you guys. We're gonna drink, we're gonna have fun. Yesterday we got to perform with Eddie Montgomery at 3rd and Lindsley, which was incredible. It was a great night. So really enjoying today. I love this stuff. I know some people, face a lot of social anxiety and all this kind of stuff between both the interviewer and the interviewee and all that kind of stuff. Getting to sit with you guys in outlets like this is really something I really look forward to. So today's an exciting day for me. And then just working out, just going through the weekend, just working and playing songs and nothing too hard. You know what I mean?
Just keeping it simple, no doubt, too. We'll keep it simple. Hey, appreciate you being with us. Grass on the Grave across all the streaming platforms. More to come for 2024, and always appreciate when you drop by.
Thank you, man. Good to see you.
Allie Colleen here. Day 2 coverage continues on here. CMA Fest 2024, live from the Music City Center here in Nashville, Tennessee. Stay tuned for a lot more coming up here. More interviews to come. Stay tuned.